The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. Against what the first 3 seconds of B-roll showed, here we are tonight with the Red Sox Racing League at Road Atlanta. The twist and turns in Brazelton, Georgia, with the now semi-defunct Lanier Raceplex just alongside here. The track owned by NASCAR host Petit Le Mans, as well as a staple racetrack here on the Red Sox Racing League calendar. Their fall campaign here in 2023 coming to a close here as we try to crown a champion. So round 5 of 6 here on the docket for us here this evening. Welcome everybody to PTR TV for tonight's coverage of Red Sox Racing League Season 4, Series 4, here at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for again our 35-minute races. Going to be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth, along being in the production truck by myself here for the 35-minute affair here, but definitely one that we will want to stay tuned for as per usual, qualifying underway currently for our LMP3 class. And then we do have couple of different storylines of sorts to go over here. I'll quickly bring up the ticker on the left side of the display. You can see this is Thomas Wolfe trying to get a little heat in the tires here, maybe for one more flyer within the session here. And he is top of the board, but top of the board doesn't mean anything when you have some fast drivers here in the field. We have, of course, Ryan Robertson. He's third. You have Ross Booth in fourth. And a new name that I've never seen, so I don't know if he's like a long-time person in the league just coming back or new entirely, but Robert Cast in the 42 has thrown his hat in the ring, and he is pretty quick here on the stat sheet, just behind Wolf, but ahead of our two heavy hitters, and of course can't count out the other drivers in class, Wilson Turner and Marin Pietri. And then you can see down there our GT4 class, which has already qualified. Looks like Mark Kadrowski. He did win last week, and he's going to try to go back-to-back with Dave Hill. Dave Hill and himself had a great battle at Mossport last week. Basically turned into a battle of a mistake by Kadrowski, and he had to try to get back the position. He did do that about mid-race and pulled on away. You can see he has that little very minute cap of less than a half a tenth over Barros there with Humphrey and Dahl. Not too far back, so hopefully some good GT4 competition here on the evening. But as I said, some storylines to go over. So I was debating whether or not to make a point standings graphic here, because the reason I say I was contemplating is because there's a lot of variables here with the race here tonight, particularly in the LMP3 class, and that is because race number 1 of this was at, I believe it was Monza, if memory does serve. And Ryan Robertson actually joined that race in GT4, got GT4 points, but as of race 2, switched over to run in the LMP3 class. So basically his LMP3 points is what he's going for the championship for, but until the drop week is calculated after tonight's race, we really don't have a good indication on the LMP3 point standings, because right now, as of no drop week, Todd Marin Pietri is leading the standings by 1 over Mark Wilson. and Les Turner 6 back in third. But Robertson, he is, quick math, Corey, 32 points off of the race lead, but he's going to have that goose egg dropped off, which will shake up things and as well as help other drivers out who've had poor runs. And then down there in the GT3 class, we're at GT4, excuse me. We have Barrows by 12 over Dennis Griffin, Terry Dahl. Dahl has had back-to-back terrible weeks. So one of them will get dropped off. Barrows, of course, having 2 wins here on the season. Both of those came back-to-back, I believe, in race 2 and 3. So a lot of things to kind of see. We will certainly next week go over those points in depth here and get ready for the season finale here of this series, but we will be very quickly bouncing back. So effective next week, race number 6, we will be bouncing directly into our new season that will lead us up into the end of 2023. Crazy to believe that this year has already surpassed. So won't be any immediate breaks here in the Red Sox Racing League. We will be consecutive to the end of 2023, of course, right here on PTR TV. Does look as though Thomas Wolfe did indeed manage to best his lap time, gave himself a little bit more of a buffer between him and the competition. Not that it was needed, because they did not best it to the same degree, but he will be our GT I don't know why I'm getting backwards here today. He will be our LMP3 pole sitter, and he will be the overall, of course, the way that it does shake up. But now our countdown timer has come to 0. The cooldown session is over, so now we head right down to that starting lineup, and let's see where your favorite driver is starting here from Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, Red Sox Racing League, race number 5. Thomas Wolfe, as we just alluded to, going to be our overall race pole sitter here tonight with a 1:15.356. Robert Cast, the newbie to the league, he's going to be rolling off in second in class. Ryan Robertson in third, with Ross Booth, last week's winner, in the 4th position. 5th finds Mark Wilson. There we go, the graphics delaying the switch over. That's 3rd and 4th. 5th finds Mark Wilson with Les Turner. He's going to be in the 6th position. 7th is Todd Marinpietri with Mark Kudrowski in the 8th spot. And now we have our... Mark Kudrowski's not in 8th. Again, I'm kind of thinking from an oval perspective here. He is 1st. Now our GT4 end of the lineup, Dave Hill 2nd, Robert Barrows in 3rd, Andrew Humphrey in 4th, Terry Dahl in 5th. Then we have Kevin Kyle 6th, Dennis Griffin in 7th in class, Ed Sutcliffe in 8th, Bill Pawlucky going to be in the 9th spot, and then rounding out our 12 GT4, Dwayne McCarthy in 10th, Scott Husted in 11th, James Prostel Jr. had some connection issues. Hopefully he's got those solidified for this week's race, and Robert Cansian, Brian Irby as well, some stragglers who did not take to the grid, at least for the qualifying session. So we will be doing the full pace lap around here, and the reasoning is iRacing does do short pace lap configurations at a lot of these circuits to just get you to the racing that much faster. But the pace lap here at Road Atlanta, the shortened pace lap, is so short that it's basically unusable here in multi-class and the way that we operate here. Of course, our slower class, of course, this time round being the GT4s, they will have about a 12 to 15 second kind of delayed, a lagged start in relation to those LMPs, so that way there's a, you're not immediately on each other's heels. You can get that appropriate spacing. Let's get our track map up here, so you can see the layout here at Road Atlanta. You can see them going down the hill and then back up here. Again, 2.2 miles around, 12 turns around this circuit. Weather conditions here today from Brazelton, Georgia. 77 in the air with an 86-degree track temp, 6:30 sim time. I don't think the lights will turn on here this evening. Was a race a few seasons ago that we did finish it at Road Atlanta in the nighttime conditions, but I don't think that will be applicable here this evening. Last week's race at Mossport did have a lot of issues with class interaction, with that track being a very hard track to pass, not really any straight sections. So you were really having to force the issues here these LMP3s were, and it did cause a lot of gap fluctuation on the stopwatch. I don't foresee that happening here this evening, as Road Atlanta does have a lot more space to play with. And of course you do have the long straightaway that leads you from turn 7 to the turn 10 and chicanes, which we are soon to be entering here. 10A and 10B here down the long straightaway here. Good passing opportunity, good slipstreaming opportunity, and I expect that to come into full play here, as they'll be hard on those brakes for this for this chicane. Switch back to the left, right back to the right. You'll head uphill and then drop straight down a cliff here as you head to the start-finish straight. But Barney the flagman's going to have that green flag in hand. He's going to give it waving for us to down to the bottom of the hill. 7 LMP3 is going to take the green flag, and let's start the race here from Road Atlanta. Thomas Wolfe with that defensive line into turn number 1. Looks like Ryan Robertson going to get by Cass there, using that line, following Wolfe up through. Now they're going to go up the hill through 3, 4, 5, and then down and drop through the S's. A very difficult part of the track, but it looks like they'll do it successfully. Let's see our GT4s with Mark Kedrowski, a new paint scheme here, new livery here this week. Very Hawaiian-esque scheme here, but Barney's going to let them up and go. You can see the bigger field here, of which we have 12. They will get themselves racing here. And a big gap goes to Kedrowski right off the get-go here, but Dave Hill in that blue number 13. He is going to try to hold off Lightning McQueen, of course, that being Robert Barros, our 2-time winner here on the season. Terry Dahl with a slightly new livery here this week, testing out the Aston Martin here, so maybe trying to get a little bit of manufacturer's luck there. Top 3 in LMP3 on each other's tails here, Wolfe, Cast, and Robertson. Although that very quickly changed. I'm not quite sure what happened, because they were on each other's tail, and now all of a sudden that gap has grown quite immensely. They're not sure if something happened going down the hill into 11 and 12. But now Ross Booth took a stab underneath Ryan Robertson there to no avail. See Mark Wilson just behind in the Batmobile in the form of Les Turner, Cansian, and Marin Pietri, our 8 LMP3s here on the evening. And down the long back straightaway here. Here's the defensive line from Kedrowski into the dust there. Hill's going to have a more traditional line there. I think that may give him an opportunity to get a better exit there, because he gets a better entry. When you get a better entry, 9 times out of 10, you get a better exit. But they're going to come through 11 and 12 and complete the lap. And Kedrowski will hang on to it, but still within slipstream, within attack range is Dave Hill. And not too far back is the rest of his competition. But Kedrowski goes off again, 2nd week in a row as the leader. He makes a self-induced mistake, and that's going to put him back down to the 3rd, 4th spot. No, he couldn't merge safely. He has to take kind of the access, but the alternate configuration there. And now Kedrowski is going to go all the way back to 7th place in class. And 2nd week in a row, Kedrowski, a self-induced mistake, things that are very costly here in these races, of course in any race I guess for that matter. Let's try to see what happened on replay here. It all seems well, maybe just a little bit too early on the throttle, went wide. So now it's not just coming down the hill here. All right, he's trying to merge, but he missed the, he just didn't, I don't think, let's get a better angle of that. We'll just kind of cut back one more time. So I don't think anything drastic is happening here. We'll just use a chopper cam because the trees kind of blocked us from the other angle. See, he's trying to merge right here, but I don't think he felt successful about merging, so he decided to take that little chicane, an alternate layout here, probably for the club configurations. So that'll put him down to, and he's still dropping spots here. I wonder if he got some damage going off circuit there, but yeah, he is still dropping spots. So a tragic start to the race for Kedrowski here from the pole position. Dave Hill has taken the opportunity to pull out to now a 1.8 second lead. So what started off as tight competition has slightly fizzled here. But look at up front in LMP3. We're already tagged the back of the field here. Only 4 laps into the affair. We're already getting the back of the field. Cass is going to squeeze in the S's. That's a very risky pass there. Prostel, they're going to go side by side, door to door here. Cast is going to back off and give Wolf the space here. Prostel is just trying to figure out where to go here. Now that's going to get all of these guys bunched back up. Here comes Robertson from a distant third right to the back bumper. This is not Daytona, guys. This is not Atlanta Super Speedway. This is Road Atlanta, and we're really going at it. Somebody there got loose back of the field here. That was an LMP3. Now Wolf did manage to give himself a small gap here, but no peace is on the horizon here, because on that long shot you can see here in the distance there is a plethora of GT4s to battle with here. Now they're coming through 10A and 10B to complete yet another lap. And if they catch them going down the S's, now that was a very risky move from Robert Cass, and they were door tapping here. That's not something you see too much in this series. All went successfully. Everybody continues on. Cass getting in that slipstream heading into turn number 1. Now they're going to head up the hill again. Dennis Griffin, he's going to do his best to get out of the way. Cass going to try to take an optimistic opportunity there, but he does decide to take the safer approach. But here we come again. 65 car Kevin Kyle. He's going to get surpassed there down in the S's. Now they're going to come back up the hill, and a slight passing zone may provide itself here, coming from 5 to 6. Small straightaway here, getting by Dahl. And now here comes Robert Barros here, second in GT4. Now they'll get by him here in turn 7. And then this leads up into the long straightaway. So if Cass wants to use the slipstream and make a dive, here is his opportunity to do so. See Wolf going down that back straightaway here, kind of decide where he wants to go. Now what kind of opportunity is he going to leave? He's going to go run a traditional line here. And that's Dave Hill, our GT4 leader, just ahead of him, the only one that has yet to be surpassed here in class interaction. He'll go far out of the way. He does have a fair gap of 3.5 seconds, so he has no immediate rush. But now the LMPs will be able to get through, and we'll turn on our track map, so you'll be able to denote the yellow dots will be our LMPs and our blue dots will be our GT4s. Let's just quickly check what's going on with, again, Dave Hill now up by 3.5. Robert Barros in second. Just doesn't seem to have the pure pace. Even getting passed by those other cars, he was almost 2 seconds slower. Rather, Dave Hill 2 seconds faster than Barros, even though he was getting passed and going offline. So there goes Les Turner. Well, he will get back into line there through 6 and 7. But worth noting, Ryan Robertson, he had used that traffic to his advantage, pulled right to the back bumper of the top 2. But the back end of the traffic clearly did not work to his avail there, and I just don't even think the pace is there here on the race run, and immediately dropped back to 3 seconds back. So you normally see 1 and 2 by a long shot in the form of Booth and Robertson. See them here in 3 and 4th, 3rd and 4th, just not seeming to have that overall pace that our leaders have. Last time by a 15.5, actually. I'll slightly eat my words because Thomas Wolf ran a 15.4, so only about a 10th off for Booth there. A little bit wide there. I had to kind of cut the exit there to stay on circuit. So I think the gap and perhaps Robertson in that dirty air, lack of downforce, aero wash, whatever you want to call it, I think that may have some slight effect there on Ross Booth in his endeavor through the field. Thomas Wolf has slightly given himself some breathing room here, upwards of about a second down the backstretch. So as he gets to closer to a second, the slipstream becomes weaker and weaker, so there is still a little bit present, but Cast is not going to get the amount he would get within maybe a half second. If Wolf gets to about a second, I think that you can kind of axe any talk of slipstream here. As looks like I thought there was a battle brewing, but it is not. You can see here on the front bumper cam here, good little interesting shot we don't use too much. That is the gap between Robertson and Booth. Marin Pietri there. This is 7th and 8th in class. They are having a go as Marin Pietri trying to close in on Robert Cansium there. Looks like it's about a half a second. Hill is in GT4, pulling away by about 4 seconds over Barros, which will pull up the lap times on the left of your display here. And oh no, we're gonna go see what happened, because something just happened here in LMP3 as Robert Cast very quickly took the lead. Let's go back and see what happened. I'm gonna assert it to some kind of a mistake by Wolf. Let's see, we're coming up the hill here into 5, top of the S's. Oh yeah, he kind of hit the curb a little bit too wide. No harm, no foul, but it cost him the lead. Now, I guess the million-dollar question is going to be, does he have the pace to get back to him? Because it did look for, you know, a small portion of that run that Cast just couldn't break the bubble. I thought Wolf was going to drive on out there, but now Wolf has the dirty air and Cast has the clean air on the nose. He has full downforce, full opportunity. Is he going to be able to take advantage of that? But as long as Wolf can stay in fighting range, which is really within, I'd say, even 2 seconds, that's fighting range. That's, you're close enough that the guy has to worry about you. It could still very well be a battle. And you can see the gap is still pulling away. So it went from, you know, half second to a second, second and a half. So Cast may very well be appreciating that clean air that was inadvertently given him. Second leader of the race to make a self-induced mistake, and potentially could be lethal for a race-winning move endeavor. Mark Kedrowski in the pits. I don't know if this is the old Kedrowski pit early strategy or if he has damaged the car in any sense of the way, but perhaps we will find that out now. I don't see any fast repair being taken, so let's just see if this is a traditional fuel stop. If it's around 10 to 12 seconds, yep, this is the old Kedrowski pit early strategy, which it has worked very well for him in the past, so he doesn't have the track position. He's going to try it now. Robert Barros now 5.2 seconds behind our overall leader. And other things on circuit, you do have third place in class, Andrew Humphrey, kind of within that slipstream range of about 3/4 of a second of Barros here down the back, heading into the 10 complex. Terry Dahl about 2 seconds beyond that. He is 4th in class. And then Kevin Kyle will round out our top 5 here within the GT4 class. All these guys kind of running about 2 seconds or so apart. Closest battle in class would be what appears to be perhaps Griffin and Sutcliffe there. Sutcliffe is within a half or so second of Dennis Griffin here, coming off the final corner, and they've got a good run off that final corner to make that even closer. And then actually here's a battle for 8th in class, as Husted going to lose that spot to McCarthy. Just behind that is Paul Lucky. And trying to stay on circuit there is Husted. Had to back off there, and that opens the door for Paul Lucky here, top of the S's. Is Paul Lucky going to try to squeeze it in there? I thought Paul Lucky had the spot, thought he had the position, but he did err on the side of caution here going down the hill, and did give McCarthy the opportunity to kind of recoup himself there. And that battle will come to a conclusion. But what I was trying to do before that little situation happened in LMP, as it looks like we may have another class interaction on our hands. So in this situation, a little bit different though, because we do have a big enough gap that I don't think there's going to be as much chaos behind it as we did see earlier. You can see Cast here does have a fair amount of GT4s in front of him, and he probably will catch them in the S's, so that could be a little bit sketchy of sorts. But Thomas Wolff going to lose a bunch of spots here. Battle for third. Booth is finally going to get by Robertson. I'm going to bite my tongue on that because Robertson's going to fight him back down to the inside here. Kind of the preferred line here to the inside, but now let's just sprinkle some GT4s in for good measure here. I think Robertson's going to relinquish. He will do that. Probably the safer thing to do there, going through the traffic. There they go by Husted and company, and Paul Lucky that was, just talking about them in that battle. But now coming down the hill, it looks like Booth will now have a pick in between him and Robertson there, getting around another one. That was the 003 of McCarthy. So that class interaction, again, not as chaotic as last week, but still equally scary. What we were trying to talk about was the lap times. I do want to try to see who has what and who doesn't. Last time by 8/10 in the bucket for Cast over his competition. You can see the only other person in the 15s is Mark Wilson. So kind of a unsung hero there, back in the 5th spot. Clearly has the pace to play with, but not the gap. 10 seconds behind the overall lead, but capable of running some flyers here. And you see Dave Hill with a 126.5. Nobody else, maybe other than Humphrey, even remotely in that bracket. Humphrey, the only other one that's within the 26-second bracket. I'll take that back. Terry Dahl will squeeze in there, but still 4/10 slower than they are in relation to Dave Hill. So Dave Hill, he's just pulling off the old Ryan Robertson move. He's just going to spank him here. But now I may not be able to say the Ryan Robertson move in class, because past 2 weeks, Robertson, as he's almost going to get mutilated there, hopping the curve, getting around Dahl. Robertson not having his Robertson moves, and I think he's actually going to like that, to be honest. It's going to give him more incentive to put that practice in, as Les Turner coming into the pits. You know, he's kind of walked off in a lot of these races, not much competition. He's very likely, you know, not fully engaged in the race when you don't really have any competition. So to kind of go and get thrown off the automatic podium here, now, you know, he's going to have to work at it if he wants to win these races, and I really think that's going to be something he's going to enjoy. Even Ross Booth hasn't had many races in classes that he's been a third-place car on pure pace. You know, we've had in seasons past drivers such as Mitch Heller, who's always been one of those ones that you would expect to be a dominator in class, or someone that can get a win any day of the week. He hasn't been around due to what I believe was a shoulder injury. And a little contact there. Ross Booth to the back bumper. He has really closed up all through the traffic, and through likely pace alone has closed in on Thomas Wolff. Now, I'm not sure if that car is just not handling as he'd like now that the fuel is wearing, or even if there's some tire wear at play. Not quite sure, but Wolff started the race fabulously. Was pulling away. He overshot that corner there and went a little wide. Had to back off pretty aggressively there. That's going to put Booth into second. Now we're really going to have to watch the stopwatch. You know, Booth, he needs we'll have to get a solid lap for each driver. Because, I mean, if he is in clean air substantially faster, Booth is always one to have phenomenal pit stops and, you know, not take any more fuel than is absolutely necessary. So it is not unheard of for a 6-second gap to be eliminated. I'm not going to say it's easy, and I'm not going to say it's likely, but it's possible, as long as the lap times are proportionate. But last time by, new fastest lap of the race goes to Robert Cast. First driver to break the 1:14s, and Booth has the third fastest lap. The second fastest lap goes to Wolff at a 15:147. But last time by, Booth, well, nobody ran anywhere close to that. The next fastest lap actually was Robertson at a 15:78. So everything I just said about this being a possible chance for a closed-in battle is probably not going to happen if Cass is being able to pull off these flyers. Robert Barrows may be under fire here from Andrew Humphrey, as he is closing in quite rapidly on the back bumper of Lightning McQueen, Ka-Chow, as it says right there on the rear bumper. But he's going to get that good toe down the back straightaway there, getting surpassed by an LMP. Let's see if there's anything in the distance for us. Nothing in the distance for us to worry about, so we just have to worry about this pass at hand coming down the hill into the braking zone. A little bit of a defensive line, not very aggressively defensive, because he will mainly run a traditional line. And they'll come through that chicane and drop down the hill. So it'll be interesting to see if that battle for second does come into play here on this next coming lap. And come back up the hill here and down into turn number 3. And now again, the long run down the hill and then back up into turn number 5. The S's just kind of count as, they don't really count as a corner number here, but this is turn number 5. This is where Wolf had his issue, and then they have the short little spurt into turn number 6, which is the double right-hand complex 6 and 7. And then this is what leads us down. This is probably the most important corner on the track because it leads to the longest straightaway on the track. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, but it's one of the longer straightaways, kind of akin to almost a Mossport, where it's a straightaway in nature and physics, but not necessarily artistically when you look at the track map here. Humphrey not gaining too much there in the braking zone. So he will remain in that third position for the time being. Looks like there may be a battle shaping up once more in GT4. McCarthy and Sutcliffe. I think McCarthy may have a position lost here in the near future because Sutcliffe does appear to be a little bit better than him at present. But we do have to also remember pit stops will be right around the corner. We have had a few pit stops, and we'll have one right here just as the thought is coming out of my mouth. A pit stop comes aplenty here with Ed Sutcliffe coming to the attention of his crew here with 13 minutes remaining, or about 11 minutes pace in a LMP vehicle. And here comes Ross Booth to the attention of his crew. Ross Booth was roughly six and a half seconds back. He's one that typically always gains time in the pits. I mean, it's very hard to remember races where he didn't. But the pace that Cast has right now is just absolutely floored. Now, the pace that everybody has increased. We have Wolf and Robertson with best laps that are now 7/1000ths of a second apart, a 1:15.14 for each, but 7/1000ths to the betterment of actually Robertson. Ross Booth has set a best lap in the 14, so the track's certainly speeding up here as the sun going down. You can see a lot more shade encompassing this circuit here. It's actually hard to see any spots that are fully engulfed in the sun. So the track temp, quickly pull that up. It was like, actually it's only gone down 1 degree, but it's gone down 1 degree, but clearly that sunshine, or lack thereof, is definitely adding some traction, lowering those lap times here at Road Atlanta. As Cast will get by McCarthy there, probably detrimental to his entry to turn 1 there, but again, no rush, no real reason to push it when you have such a large lead. Thomas Wolfe coming to the attention of his crew. Well, worth noting, 7.9 seconds of fuel did Ross Booth take. So we'll see what Wolfe does in comparison to that. And 2.5 more seconds of fuel, so that is certainly going to put him far behind in relation to Booth. And if there's one thing about Ross Booth, I've never seen him, as here comes Todd Pietri in the pits, I have never seen him run out of fuel. So typically when Booth takes fuel, I have full confidence that that's going to be enough and he's going to make it back to his pit stall under power. So I expect that to be the case, but you know, anything is ultimately possible in these races. I've said before, they can use the auto fuel feature, as Robert Barros coming down, one of the first top 5 GT4s. They can use the auto fill feature, where iRacing will dictate how much fuel they need per the telemetry data and the fuel mileage at play, or they can use their own mathematics, and sometimes that works better. Sometimes it's better to let the sim do it. Sometimes these guys will just fill up entirely. So of course you can only fill up so much with a 40% tank. So we'll see how it does all shake out. Still waiting for our overall leader, Robert Cast, to come into the pits, along with Mark Wilson. Wilson now 20 seconds back, so that is the gap first to second. I think maybe a new car for Mark Wilson. So it kind of has what looks almost like a color change spec map of sorts on there. Looks kind of nice. Doesn't really look as nice now that the sun's going down, but in those certain wavelengths it does appear that it's almost changing colors per se, which I think is quite nifty. Kudos to that car for Mark Wilson, but we'll expect him in any time. The only 3 in LMP that I've yet to pit are Cast, Wilson, and Kansian. Terry Dahl coming down. He was 4th in the GT4 class. He'll come down to the attention of his crew. Wayne McCarthy, and then just talking about him, Mark Wilson comes down. So now we're essentially just waiting on Kansian and our overall leader. Overall leader just passed the GT4 leader here through 6 and 7. For some inexplicable reason, 8 and 9, which are just little tiny curves here on this back straightaway, are registered as turns here by many different sources. So you exit 7, you come down this curved straightaway, which is technically 8 and 9, and then you come down into the turn 10 chicane, 10A and 10B. And then once he comes down the hill into 11 and 12, we'll see if this is the lap for Cast. It is the lap for him to come into the pits. Make sure you get that woed up here. Again, you don't have to be too aggressive when you have a what'll likely be a double-digit lead here on the stopwatch, but coming into the attention of his crew. You had Booth with a 7.9 stop, Robertson and Wolf each at 9.5. So let's see what Cast is going to do. .7, so he's going to kind of split the gap there, and we'll see how this shakes out. Here comes Ross Booth. Booth is going to gain, and he's going to gain a fair amount. It was, what, 7 or so seconds? And now he's down to less than 4. So Booth definitely has found something. And on the stopwatch, Booth has picked it up, so he's running laps consistently in the 14s. What just happened? Robert Cast damages his car. The suspension is all out of whack. And another leader, 3rd time on the evening, a leader with a self-induced issue. Let's see what happened on replay. Apparently you don't want to be the leader here this evening. Coming on, this is where Wolf had issues in turn 5. That curve is just very, very vicious. And you wouldn't have thought that. Seemed like it was a pretty flush hit to the wall. I would have thought that car would have been drivable, but evidently not. So Ross Booth, the good pit stop kind of forced Cass to maybe turn up the wick a little bit here. And Ryan Robertson also has come to the pits as well with an issue, and there may be a crash involved here. So this is also big for our championship picture, because Robertson's drop week is race number 1, but he can't, if he has a bad run here, then that's going to hurt him. Yep, hard into the tire wall. He kind of got into the grass there through 6 and 7 into the tire wall, and it seems like those LMPs were made very weak this week. No pun on the alliteration there. So these LMPs are definitely not strong enough to deal with those wall impacts. And now Robertson, I'm going to say this is going to be a struggle for Robertson on the championships. You'll definitely want to stay tuned next week, and we'll see how this championship picture shakes out. And, again, coming into tonight's race, it was an LMP. It was Andrew Lunsford, top of the board. Now, Lunsford is not here, and I don't think he was here last week either. The memory is just absolutely awful. I apologize for that. So, second in class, Thomas Wolfe. He's back there. And then Todd Marin Pietri, he's 6th in tonight's race, but he's 3rd in points. So how this all shakes out with this drop week is going to be massively interesting to see who comes out where. And again, the drop week after today, you can't drop next week. If you don't show up next week, you have a poor run next week, doesn't matter. Next week counts no matter what, and I always like to take credit for that because it does make it a lot easier to cover. And it's actually easier for the drivers. Back in the day, every race was droppable, so you really didn't know. There was almost 2 sets of circumstances going the last race, so now every driver knows, if I want to win that championship, I need to do exactly this. And that will be very interesting. Again, GT4, you have Barros and Griffin separated by 6 points. Barros currently running 4th in class, and Griffin back there in 7th. Andrew Humphrey is 3rd in the points there, but he's running the highest of them. And again, once the drop weeks are calculated, it'd be very interesting to see what the picture is next week, heading into the final race, which is going to be at Montreal. The gist of Montreal is straightaway chicane, hairpin. So it's a track that traditionally stays relatively close with that slipstream, and it really tests people predominantly through the beginning section, which is very much street circuit, like not a lot of wiggle room. So it's a very fun track, a track that a lot of drivers know from many different series. Even the NASCAR-esque guys will know Montreal from the days where it was a nationwide Xfinity Series race. So Thomas Wolfe back in the pits again. Actually 4 minutes, so he's still recovering. But so now Ross Booth, through all of this shakeup, has encountered a 29-second lead in class. He just needs to chug this out. A race that on pure pace he should not have won, and he hasn't won it yet officially, but he should not have won it. But sometimes you just have to be where you need to be. Sometimes other people will win the race for you, and that's more or less what has happened today. He does get around some GT4s, but again, no rush to get around them. And then you have Dave Hill, who is now up by 9 seconds over Kedrowski. Kedrowski with that undercut pit strategy, which for some reason, I can't figure out the physics of it. I don't know why it works, but for some reason it works really well for him, which is great. But he is now 9 seconds back, and although he is a skosh faster, he was 4/10 faster last time than Hill. 4/10 isn't going to eat up 8.5 seconds in basically 2 laps. So again, those self-induced mistakes are essentially, they didn't cost him the win last week. He was able to get it back, but that self-induced mistake, likely, barring a last-second mistake from Hill, going to cost him the win here. Now let's see what happens here coming into the final bus stop. Final chicane, average lap time here, 1:15. We're going to hit the stripe likely with more than that. It's always these close calls here on the timer. We're going to hit the stripe at 1:20, so we should get kind of a bonus lap of sorts here, because we're just at around 1:15, 1:16, so we should be on 2 to go right here. Because I think we'll probably cross the stripe with maybe 5 seconds left, so 2 laps to go here in the effort. 28 seconds is your overall lead. Hill up by 7 seconds. Kedrowski really coming the last time by. We'll pull up the battle timer really quick. You can see the gap in between first and second. Look at the lap times there, 26.6 to almost a 29. So Kedrowski has the burners on here. He has the afterburners on, but unfortunately it's just going to be too little too late, barring a massive mistake from Hill. Now Hill might just be completely cruising because he has every right to, given the lead that he has built. But we've had so many issues, but the issues predominantly have been in LMP3. Here comes the traffic for Booth to deal with here. Coming down is Terry Dahl. He's going to get by him, coming down 11 into 12, and with just pure seconds on the timer, we're going to get ourselves a bonus lap here, crossing the stripe with essentially nothing left. White flag in the air. 28 seconds on the stopwatch. All you got to do is just cruise this thing out, and it's yours, Ross. And he's going to be very, very careful there behind Barros, top of the hill in the S's. Absolutely no reason to push the deal there. And you have all the lead in the world to work with here. See down there, second in class, Kedrowski, 5.5 seconds. So he's trying his best, but this a little bit too little too late here. Coming through 6 and 7 for the final time. Ross Booth had a terrible run at Watkins Glen. Wanted to get that redemption. Got it with a vengeance last week at Mossport, rather. He got it with a vengeance in dominating fashion. Now it's going to look like here on the stopwatch that he dominated this race, but we all know that the actuality was he didn't dominate it, but he was in the right place at the right time. He made the least amount of mistakes, as many LMP drivers made. Well, he didn't make one here tonight. He's going to come down the hill for the final time, and Ross Booth going to get himself another win here in class. Red Sox Racing League here at Road Atlanta. Now a pretty big gap here back to Dave Hill. Again, where the laps played out here, he's basically almost a lap behind Booth at this juncture. So he's climbing the hill here. The gap's still roughly 6 seconds. Last time by still, actually Kedrowski lost a spot, as a matter of fact. He had a 4 second slower lap. Andrew Humphrey gets up to second. That's going to be pretty big in the championship because he is up there in class. So another mistake for Kedrowski loses him a spot here in the waning laps. But coming down that final straightaway, Dave Hill in the number 13 car. Once that mistake was made by Kedrowski, he was able to just go ahead and cruise. Didn't really have any competition until the very end. Kedrowski took a stab at it, but just did not have enough time to make that pass, and eventually cost himself even second. But Dave Hill going to come down the hill here for the final time. And the number 13 car, Dave Hill, he's going to win the class here at Road Atlanta for the Red Sox Racing League, the GT4. So kudos goes to him as well, as these guys do finish this thing out. So now that the race is basically over, I think just about everybody has completed their session. We can go ahead and give you the final rundown of results here today from Michelin Raceway. Getting that overall win, Ross Booth by 27 seconds over Mark Wilson, with Les Turner in third, Robert Kansian in fourth. Robert Cast made that mistake that cost him it in the second half. He'll be fifth with Marin Pietri in sixth. First in class, of course, for the GT4s is Dave Hill, with Andrew Humphrey finishing in second. Kedrowski just a tough race for him, and he'll have to settle for a third. Ultimately, not a bad day at the end of the standings, but still third. Robert Barros never really was in it today with a fourth. Kevin Kyle in a fifth. Terry Dahl gets another solid run in sixth. Dennis Griffin in seventh. Dwayne McCarthy finishes in eighth. And then we have Scott Husted in ninth and Bill Pollucky in 10th. In GT4 with Sutcliffe and Prostel rounding out the field, and then just complete bottom of the grid here. They're still, of course, in the LMP finishing order, but just bottom of the overall standing, 7th and 8th in class. Go to Wolf and Robertson, not on pace, just on those self-induced mistakes here that can definitely come out to bite you here. And looks as though we do have one of our post-race drivers. I don't think I've ever talked to Dave Hill, but of course we have Ross Booth here. So Ross, I mean, you see a 28-second gap, you'd think you dominated the race, but the speed of those guys in front of you was paramount, but they made mistakes and you didn't, and you snuck one away here tonight. How's it feel, man?
Feels pretty good to win one like that. That round of cycling on the pit stops was quite interesting. I pitted early, trying to hope for something. Robert Cass is really fast out there, so trying to play the traffic game, and it's sort of worked out. I gained a little bit of time on him, but inevitably got around him there when he had a little mistake out of 5 and cruised home to the win.
I kind of was thinking this for Ryan as well. I mean, typically now that Mitch is not racing, it's you and Ryan just dominating. What's it feel like for you guys to be like, oh snap, we're not cream of the crop anymore? You guys did not have the fastest speed, you and Ryan collectively. Does that kind of get you back on your horse to be like, all right, we got to be even more on our game here going forward?
Yeah, no, Robert Cast and Thomas Wolf did an awesome job tonight. They had really good pace. It's sort of a coin flip through traffic tonight if you caught them in the S's. It was actually quite interesting. The entire LMP3 field caught the GT4s in the S's the first time through, so there was a huge stack up because everyone just piling in there, and I think we all made it through there clean, but it was just very interesting.
Yeah, it looked like Atlanta Super Speedway, not so much a road course here or there, but I know you're not going to really be in it for the championship race next week. You'll be in it for fun, not so much for the title, man, but we'll see if you can go ahead and snag another one around out the season. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Just want to say a big shout out to Composite Performance for putting us on the racetrack here. Shout out to SimLab and Grid for always supporting our team, and shout out to Les and Terry for always putting on an awesome event. This was a lot of fun tonight.
All right, sounds good, man. We'll catch you.
Thank you.
All right, so Dave Hill, I don't think I've ever actually spoke to him, so I do see him having the little bubble here in Discord, so that I know he is online, so he is at least available to come in. Whether he comes into the chat or not, I do not know, but it does give us a final opportunity to just let everybody know. Make sure you like and subscribe to PTR TV. We are on our mission to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're 60 short, and we're just crawling there ever so slowly. We do have some new stuff here on the channel, so helps the league if I get to 1,000, helps me if I get to 1,000, and it helps the algorithm. Oh, here comes Dave Hill, so I don't have to stall anymore. So, well, Dave, congrats on a solid win here tonight. Kadrowski seemed to have the upper hand, but 2 weeks in a row, he makes a self-induced mistake, and you took full advantage of it, man. What was that racing like out there tonight?
Yeah, no, he was putting down some good times there, and once I saw his mistake there, I knew I still had to go pretty hard. A couple guys behind us were still putting down solid times, but I wanted to back off just a little bit, hoping I didn't make a mistake, and I made a tiny error in the pits getting fuel there, and was unable to get back, but yeah, it was close there, and he was making a good comeback as well. Mark was.
Yeah, he made a comeback within 5 seconds, and then ultimately made another mistake there and cost himself second. But another track similar to last week, Mossport, where the traffic was just absolutely brutal, especially coming down the S, especially the first interaction. What was it like there, having a swarm of LMP3s trying to come up on your tail while you're still in a battle for position?
Yeah, when I was doing some practice stuff, I was trying to get through there as best I can without helping them, making them pass me, and was getting into some trouble. So I was lifting through the S's when the swarm would come through, hoping that like I knew my time would slow down, but I was hoping that the guys behind me, the same thing was happening to them. So I didn't want to push it too hard and chance wrecking. So it was just really careful coming through there, because yeah, it gets tight in a hurry.
Yep, and then another track next week, very tight corners and tight confines at Montreal next week. What's your comfort there, and what's the opportunity of going back to back?
I don't know. We'll see. I do like that track, but again, you can get into trouble real quick there. So just gonna have to put some time in and hopefully make some good decisions on game day.
All right, sounds good, man. Congrats on a victory here tonight, and we'll see if we're talking to you next week.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
No problem. All right, so luckily we were able to snag him in here before we shut down the night, but we already did most of our post-race talk there, so no reason to banter anymore. Make sure you stay tuned, make sure you like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. We'll be back here on Monday night with the SSRL as they close out their season, and then we'll be back Thursday night again to conclude the Red Sox Racing League Series 4 here. It'll be at Montreal, as I just alluded to. That's Corey signing out of the booth. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.